Hospital corridors always smell the same. They're either too clean, too quiet, or too much like bad news. Yeti sits outside the ward with her elbows resting on her knees while doctors move past her, speaking in low voices. Inside the room, her mother sleeps weakly under thin hospital sheets while machines blink steadily beside her. The doctors had called it complicated. 50-50, a phrase Yeti now hates with her entire soul. That night, she gets home exhausted, drops her keys on the table, and kneels beside her bed almost immediately. Father Lord, please heal my mom. 5 minutes later, she stops praying and sighs because lately, prayer was starting to sound like sending voice notes to someone who never listens to them. Does God even care? The next morning at work, Yeti barely speaks to anyone. Her coworkers move around normally while she stares blankly at her laptop. Then, from the next desk over, one of them laughs suddenly. I am telling you, the Holy Spirit literally helped me pick this shirt this morning. Another coworker laughs. You people involve God in everything. Everything, the first guy replies proudly. If he can lead me in life, he can lead me in fashion too. Everybody laughs. Yeti forces a weak smile. How are these people talking about God so casually? She wonders, so closely. Meanwhile, she has spent weeks praying desperately and still feels completely unheard. Later, during lunch break, she finally speaks. Can I ask you guys something honestly? Do you ever feel far from God? My mom is really sick, she says quietly. I have been praying, reading my Bible, doing everything I usually do in my relationship with God. But honestly, God feels far away, she adds, and seeing you people talk about him like he is your best friend kind of confuses me. One of her coworkers leans back slightly. What if closeness to God is not what you think it is? Yeti looks up at him tiredly. The guy continues. You might be treating your relationship with God like a chore. Another coworker nods. But intimacy with God is everyday life too. One of them reaches for his phone. Romans 12, message version. He scrolls briefly before reading aloud. Romans 12, 1-2 says, take your everyday, ordinary life, your sleeping, eating, going to work, and walking around life, and place it before God as an offering. Yeti stays quiet and simply lets out a sound, Closeness with God is not only for crisis moments, he says gently. It is for everyday moments too. Prayer should always be like a conversation when you are interacting with God. But I have been doing that, Yeti says quietly. I pray, I read, I never miss church service. I know, Yeti, the coworker answers again. But what if the goal was never to try harder, but simply to let God into your daily life? That evening, Yeti goes home. She sits beside her bed for a long time without speaking. She didn't try out her routine prayers or start blurting out declarations from one of the Christian books she had bought. She just waited to hear from the Holy Spirit. She tried to start a conversation just like her coworkers said earlier. God, I do not even know what to say anymore, but I need you to help me walk with you. And then, as soon as the words left her mouth, the Holy Spirit started talking to her about things. She sang and prayed in tongues like never before. She heard God talk to her about not worrying and how He will always be there for her. And when she opened those scriptures, all of those words were confirmed. She was excited. It was all she could ever want. Days pass, though hospital visits continue. One afternoon, a doctor comes out with a softer expression than before. "There is improvement," he says. Yeti blinks. "Improvement?" The doctor nods. It is still delicate, but she is responding better than expected. She was very excited. "Wow, so God hears me after all. I am doing something right." But 2 days later, a call comes early in the morning. Yeti answers with sleep still in her voice. "Hello." "Mom died." Later, she finds herself sitting outside the hospital. She was bitter, broken, and angry. "I thought I was closer to God than this," she said aloud. That evening, she goes back to work, but does not sit with the others. One of them gently sits beside her. "I heard," the coworker says quietly. Yeti nods. "I was wrong," she says to him. The coworker stays silent. "I thought being close to God meant things would turn out differently." The coworker shakes his head slowly. "Closeness with God was never about controlling outcomes," he said. "It is about not being alone in them." Yeti looks away. Her voice cracks slightly. "So what was all that peace I felt whenever I prayed?" The coworker answers after a moment. "It was the strength you needed for a time like this." Then the coworker adds, "And God does not disappear even when the story changes." That night, she sits alone again, and then the Holy Spirit whispers to her, "I have loved you with an everlasting love." She breathes in slowly and then cries out in joy from the reassurance that God was still in the situation that felt so much like a nightmare. She knew God was close to her because He is always there, no matter the circumstance.